We're starting positional previews today. First ones will be tight ends,
Yes.
which includes our season-long bets for some of the biggest names at the position. But first, a lot of football to catch you up on from the weekend as the preseason is officially in the books.
And I was just going to say, this is the biggest draft week of the season, right? This is the big, and leading up to this upcoming weekend, which is the biggest draft weekend of the year. And so what we're going to do this whole week is first off, we're going to update you everything you need to know over the weekend, and we'll do tight ends today. But also, every day is going to be positional ranks. Like it's going to be a running back day, then it's a wide receiver, a quarterback. We're going to go through all the positions, get you ready for big drafts this weekend.
But before we do that, the preseason Week 3 reaction for teams that played their starters, we have to start with the Steelers. And Matthew, you brought up the Football Night in America pod. You had a really interesting response when quarterback came up. Take a listen.
Come November, the Steelers starting quarterback will be whom?
Justin Fields. They have to see what they got out of this kid at some point. I don't think they'll be in the hunt, so Justin Fields.
Okay.
I'd love to say Kyle Allen just for fun, but I think Russell Wilson's going to hang on to the job. They've got some tough games early. They got some primetime games. They understand what they're trying to do offensively and defensively, and I think Mike Tomlin is going to make a decision. He's going to stick with it for as long as he can.
Yeah, I agree. I think Mike Tomlin says, hey, we're going to win games on defense. They just need Russell Wilson to do what he did last year. If he can just be that same guy, they'll be in it and they'll stay with him.
9-time Pro Bowler in Seattle. The formula was run the football, play great defense, Russell make a handful of plays during the game. That's what we're trying to recreate there in Pittsburgh. They have the right guy in Arthur Smith to do it. I still think he'll be their starting quarterback.
Maybe not the hero we need, but the one we deserve. Matthew Berry, standing alone
on an island.
Yeah.
On an island.
Fields Island.
That's exactly.
More like standing on a field, I guess.
I mean, you've got a couple of Super Bowl champions on that desk. You got Mike Florio and super smart. But I'm just going to tell you, I don't think Russell Wilson is the long-term answer in Pittsburgh. I don't. Right? I mean, he's on a very short contract here, and I understand what they're saying, and I would argue that if the Steelers are in the hunt, then I agree with everyone else that's on that panel there. If the Steelers have a legit shot, but you just think about that division with Cleveland and Cincinnati and Baltimore, you know what I mean? And that basically you're saying like, hey, Russell Wilson, we just need to be a game manager. Justin Fields is a guy who was a former top 12 pick who was considered, he's a first-round pick overall. And so he has made some brilliant plays this preseason. He's also made some like head-scratching, like what are you doing kind of plays. And so my argument here is that Justin Fields is potentially a franchise quarterback. He potentially also isn't. But I just feel like they've got him on this dirt cheap deal, and that at some point, I don't think Russell Wilson is the future in Pittsburgh. Justin Fields might be. He also might not be, but I feel like Pittsburgh's going to have to give him an extended look to figure out, hey, next year, do we need to start over at the quarterback position, or is Justin Fields somebody that we can build around long term? Because there are some skills in there. Connor, we saw it at Ohio State.
Absolutely, and I'm interested in, this is going to be a good defense. We know that. It's a team that can win ugly. They're going to want to run the ball. Does Fields' rushing ability just simply give them more, right? Simply give them more for an offense that, in theory, Jay, doesn't need a lot. They don't need to be a superstar top 5, top 10 offense with how the defense is and how they play under Tomlin. And does that little extra rushing element from Fields eventually give him the edge? Maybe not in September, and you didn't say that.
No.
But maybe down the line where they're like, man, we just need an ounce more and we're going to flip some of these one-score games.
Yeah, I think last year Russell Wilson was 18th in PFF grade. He was 18th in EPA per play. By the eye test, he was about the 18th best quarterback in the NFL, and there's no reason to think that he should really get better. He just seems to have lost the step athletically. He's just everything that made Russ special, the speed, the deep ball, like that has largely migrated to last year. He was checking down so much more. So I think that Russell Wilson, he just kind of is what he is. And there's this idea that he is what that team wants, that they want to be this defense ball control team. Like I think on offense, they want to be a team that runs the ball. And I think that Arthur Smith would surely prefer to have the upside of Justin Fields and prefer to have that rushing upside and the threat of Fields and what it unlocks in the run game. Now, it seems like they're going to start with Russ. I think what helps Russ is that the first part of their schedule is the easier part, where they don't have to play Baltimore or Cleveland, either of those top two elite defenses, until after their bye. So the first 10 weeks, they don't play either of those teams, even though they're in division. So I suspect it is going to be Russ, but I would say that it is greater than 50% chance that Justin Fields gets in there at some point as the starter.
And just to your point about how run heavy they want to be, again, this is a stat that I've used in relation to Lamar Jackson, but I think it's relevant here, that since Lamar Jackson became the starting quarterback of the Baltimore Ravens, Ravens running backs are averaging 4.8 yards per carry, which is best in the NFL. Again, we've done this study, but like the more mobile the quarterback, the more open lanes there are for running backs. So to your point, the threat of Justin Fields, I think, would open things up for Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren. And just we know how run-heavy Arthur Smith wants to be. I mean, honestly, like the Falcons stuck with Desmond Ridder much longer than they should have been. And I would argue that it is because of the threat of Desmond Ridder's legs that's why that happened. Because, you know, the passing was not great.
Not where you want it to be. Some other interesting nuggets from the Steelers offense. Van Jefferson, 93% route participation with Russ. He looks to be their wide receiver 2, Matthew. And then a more interesting scenario that could be a committee. Pat Freiermuth, 60% route participation with Russell Wilson this preseason. This could be a committee with Darnell Washington.
Yeah, we forget how much they like Darnell Washington, and you know he was highly touted coming out. It's interesting. Like I thought Freiermuth might be a sleeper just because Arthur Smith teams have traditionally, you know, you go back to like Delaney Walker, you know, and they've actually tried to. I know everyone that's ever had Kyle Pitts on their fantasy team is screaming at the screen right now, going like, "What are you talking about?"
Right.
But they have tried to target the tight end.
Jonnu Smith,
Jonnu Smith,
resurrected.
Like, no, I know that was the problem, but also to your point about Jonnu Smith, like again, like Arthur Smith likes big-bodied tight ends, so maybe they want, especially given the fact that they want to run the ball as much, maybe Washington on the field more than anyone that's drafting Freiermuth would like to be. But like as we wait to find out what's going to happen with Brandon Ayuk, at the moment Van Jefferson, who had some nice moments with the Rams, to your point, is just suddenly like no one is drafting Van Jefferson, and we don't think it's going to be a great passing offense. But if you're in a deep league, and we're all in an 18-team league. Like if you're in a deep league, Michael Smith is in his crazy deep leagues. Like Van Jefferson is suddenly on the radar as somebody who, you know, is going to play more than I think people realize.
Okay, you have a chance to win $1 million in the NBC Sweepstakes on Yahoo Fantasy. Just download the redesigned Yahoo Fantasy app or go to NBCSports.com/fantasymillion for additional details. What are you waiting for?
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and RotoWorld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest RotoWorld fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.